This is, it's working. Good morning, everybody. It is 10:30, but we are just waiting on a couple more members here, so hopefully we will be able to get started shortly. Thanks for your patience, everybody. We're just trying to round up a couple more council board members. Okay, thank you, everybody. We are now able to get started. So, got kind of a long agenda, so we will just dive on in. The first item for consideration is to approve the minutes of the July 13th, 2023 MAPS 4 Citizens Advisory Board special meeting. Do we have a second? Okay. Please cast your votes.
Say aye.
Okay. Looks like we're...
Lisa, you said aye.
Okay, that has passed. Next item on the agenda, receive the MAPS 4 monthly financial report ending June 30th, 2023.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have in your packet the monthly financial report. On the revenue side for the month, $11,599,536. Fiscal year, $147,054,507, and total of $408,207,127. Then on the expenditures for the month, $6,624,827. For the fiscal year of $62,153,875, and total of $163,467,913. So you're starting to see some bigger numbers on the expenditure side, but that is because we have the Coliseum under construction, and those bills are kind of hefty every month, so that's why. I'll try to answer any questions if you have any.
Anybody have any questions on the budget? Okay, so do I have a motion and a second? Please cast your votes. And that motion has passed. Moving along to item number C, we have a presentation on the design update of the maps for animal shelter, and we have some staff from HSE Architects.
Right, so we like to give you an update now and then. We'll soon have the preliminary report coming to you, and rather than just have that show up, we'd like to show you the work that we're doing up to this point. And Todd Edmonds from HSE Architects is here to go through this.
Great. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here this morning. My name is Todd Edmonds, principal with HSE Architects. And as David said, we're here this morning to present the maps for animal shelter design progress. See if I can work this. Okay. So I want to start with talking a little bit about the site plan. Our location for this project is on the existing property of the existing animal shelter, which is located on Southeast 29th Street. And that's, I don't know if I need a, can I use it? Yeah. So Southeast 29th Street along the bottom here. On the west, we're bordered by Grand Boulevard, which is the road that goes through. Just Trosper Park is just to the west of that. And then over on the east side, we're bordered by Bryant Avenue. And so this is the existing site. The existing building is located right here. And so it's a fairly large site that we have to deal with, about 14 acres, but our building is very large also. It's about 20,000 square feet larger than the existing facility. So we're looking at 67,000 square foot building. So it has presented some challenges, even though this site is about 14 acres, all the way up to the very north. There's an existing Oklahoma City Highway Patrol building. So from there down, we have about 14 acres to work with, but it is a very challenging site in that we have several obstacles. We have the existing building that must remain in place while we build the new building. And then just to the east of that is the existing Humane Society building here that must remain. Most people don't know, but there is a pet cemetery right here in the dead center of the property, and that needs to be undisturbed during this project. And then the primary corner, the southeast corner of this property, is actually the lowest spot on the site. So that's where all of the stormwater drains to, which is not ideal for building a building. And then we have all the utilities that come in and feed the existing buildings. So there's several utilities here off of 29th Street that come into the building. There's also a sewer that runs across just north of the pet cemetery that feeds the existing building. All that has to remain in place while we're building the new building so that they can stay in their existing facility. So the south portion of the property we determined after extensive study was just really not an option. There was really not a good solution for building a building and working around those existing obstacles. Even moving north of the cemetery here where this blue circle is, that also presented some challenges in that from the center of the site going east to Bryant, there's almost 20 feet of grade, drop in grade. So to enter in off of Bryant into the new building, we had to figure out a solution to maneuver that 20 feet of grade change. If we put the building close to Bryant, we were looking at extensive retaining walls in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 feet tall, which nobody liked that idea. So we really ended up with where the pink circle is, which is the highest part of the site. And it's as far north as we can get without getting into the Oklahoma City Highway Patrol building. And we were able to move it off of Bryant so that we could eliminate these extensive and expensive retaining walls. So the pink area there is the site that we've landed on. Let's see here. So this is our current preliminary site plan, and you'll see the building footprint there in the red color is our proposed new building location. So you can see we've moved it all the way to the north of the property. The existing cemetery is here, just right south of us, which allows us to stay away from the sewer that goes right through here. And then the detention area that's going to be required for our new building can be located in this southeast corner. That's the low spot of the site. Humane Society stays right here. And then we're proposing to leave the existing parking for the existing building so that they can use it for overflow. They have large events, adoption events on weekends that bring 1,500 people in a day. So the parking we are proposing to provide is adequate on a daily basis, but if we have a large event, they could certainly use this overflow parking. So you can see here the entrance off of Bryant works well. We pulled the parking about 60 feet off of the street, which allows us to maneuver that drive, get up into the parking without any retaining walls. The parking here, actually these numbers are backwards on the sheet. The parking here for customers on the east side is 142 spaces, and the parking on the west side, which would be used for staff and fleet parking, is 102 spaces. And then we also have a new barn that would be associated with this project as well. And the pasture for that barn would all be down here in this green area. That would all be done in phase 2. After the new building's built, they move out. Phase 2, we will demolish the existing building and build the new barn. Okay, this is what, a little delay there. Back. There we go. So this is the overall floor plan of the building. The next two slides are actually enlarged floor plans. Looks like we lost some information over here on the side, but just to orient you, so this side over here is the east side that faces Bryant. So this would be the main public entrances for all of the functions of the building. This baby blue area is all the adoption area. This is where the public would come during these adoption events or just on a daily basis to adopt an animal. Just north of that in this tan area is a large meeting and training space that could also be used by the public. The blue area is the clinic, and there would be public entrance here on the front for the public to come in. And then the red area is what we call intake, and that's where the public would bring a surrender or a stray animal to drop it off. And then moving to the left, the green area here is for stray cats. We have space for over 200 cats. All of these green areas with the larger kennels are for dogs, and we have space for about 350 dogs. And then this pink area is a surgery suite. And then the orange area is for observation, and that's for dogs or animals that are either in a criminal case or have bit someone. They're kept in this, the kennels that would be in this orange area. And then the yellow area, this is the animal control area. This large yellow area here is what we call the sally port, and that's where the animal control officers, when they go out and pick up a stray animal, they bring them in there. There's 4 overhead garage doors. They pull in, put the door down, unload the animal, and then back out and go pick up more animals. And then the large kind of purple area here is just storage for animal food and supplies. Oh, I forgot to mention, in an effort to get this building on the site and move it as far north as we have, we took one wing of the building, the administration wing, and put it on a second floor. So this plan right here is all administration, and it basically just sits over here on top of this portion of the building as a second floor. So this is just an enlarged plan, shows you a little more detail of the spaces that are in the north half of the building, and then this next slide is the south half of the building. And there's the floor plan for the administration area on the second floor. So we have an elevator. It's represented by the X down here, and that elevator ends up being in the adoption area down, which is the most public area down below, and then there's 2 stairs allowing access to the second floor. Elevations, we've spent a lot of time studying the site, and so these elevations are very preliminary. We currently are still exploring materials for the building, but you can kind of get an idea of the basic functions and the basic look that we're after. We intend to have standing seam metal roofs on a good portion of the building so that it doesn't look as an institutional as their current facility does. We'll use materials such as stucco and wood soffits throughout with some stone accents. A lot of the building will be built out of concrete block just because of the durability. It's required in the spaces where the dogs and animals are kept. So we'll be using a lot of concrete block, but the exterior will have some additional materials. So this is looking at the east elevation. The top elevation is the overall east elevation, and then we've broken that into 2 larger elevations just for 2 halves, just for clarity. So you can see here on the left, that's the main adoption entrance. This whole wing here is the adoption wing. Moving to the right, this is the entrance to the meeting space. To the right of that is the entrance to the clinic, and then the right of that is the entrance into the intake area. And this second floor, all of these windows look into, those would be in the offices on the administration wing. This is the south elevation as you're looking from 29th Street. These long linear windows are into all of the dog kennel areas. Currently, they don't have any windows into the dog kennels, so we want to provide windows into all of the areas where the pets are stored. Same thing here on the west elevation. This is the sally port and storage, and then all of these windows are into the dog kennel areas. North elevation, very similar to the others. This shows the end of the intake area, the second floor admin, and then windows into the animal control offices. The budget for this project was set at just under $32 million. It was originally estimated that the building would be in the neighborhood of 67,000 square feet. We're pretty close to that currently at just a little over 68,000 square feet. So we're sitting at a budget of about $466 per square foot, which we feel is adequate for the current design. And we'll have a more detailed estimate in our upcoming preliminary report. At this time, I would just open for questions.
I actually have a quick question. What is detention?
So that because there is no underground storm sewer in the area where normally you would tie into an underground storm sewer. Here, all of the water is surface drained to a low spot on the site. And the detention is where that water would be held so that you don't overcome the streets with water and runoff. You hold it for a period of time and then let it out slowly. So that detention area would be built to hold water just for a temporary period of time right after it rains really hard, but then it drains out slowly. So it won't be a pond. It might hold water just when it's raining really hard.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Todd?
Yes. Would you mind going back to the renderings? Yeah, these.
Okay.
Thank you. Is what we're seeing here almost literally what we'll see in real life in a few years?
No, yeah, that's why I kind of prefaced it by we've spent a lot of time. We just 2 weeks ago finalized the site location, and so we are in the process of designing the exterior, and so this is very preliminary, and so the final material selections and final design, it will be developed from this stage.
You said, but these are the materials we're heading toward?
No.
No.
It's a hint of what the materials might be, but the final selection has not been determined.
Could you remind us the materials again? You said concrete?
Yeah, so, we're looking at, potential of some stone veneer near the entrances. These trusses, let me go to the bigger plan. So these trusses would either be wood or, to minimize maintenance, we might do those out of steel. We would have wood soffits or actually an aluminum product that looks like wood. It would have a wood grain to it, but all the soffits in here and throughout the interior here of the adoption area would have wood soffit. There would be some on the second floor. We're thinking that this would probably be a stucco product on the second floor. It's fairly economical. And then we could do some different materials down below here, maybe some more stone on the first floor.
I've pulled up the images from when this project first came to council as a proposal with maps for in the late spring of 19, early summer. How much of these renderings is informing what we're seeing here?
Yeah, and so on those you see, in that exterior rendering, you saw the pitched roofs with the wood soffits and the wood trusses, and that's our intent here as well. You're looking at more of a polished rendering, which we haven't got to that stage yet.
So I'd like to express some early concerns about this, and it's fresh on my mind only because on the 12th, I and several residents are about to head out to do volunteer work in terms of this, what do they call it? Mapping an urban heat island. I think you're familiar, through the sustainability, where we'll be driving at 3 different points, some of us on a bike, 3 different points during a day. I'm sure you've heard some of this on KOSU or you're just aware from staff. But we're going to be, putting a sensor on our vehicles, and it will take the temperature of certain areas of our city 3 different times a day to kind of better understand the ways in which sun is hitting concrete, asphalt, buildings, and raising the temperatures in a lot of the city, like a lot. I think we're about to find out an overwhelming majority of the city is in fact an urban heat island with a lack of shade from trees and shade structures. So I worry about some of this material, number one, in terms of the concrete. When I look at these renderings, and I know you're so early, so the renderings I'm seeing here reminds me much more of my experiences at the zoo, and something that feels a bit more not to say that concrete's not natural, clearly we are making it from things that exist on Earth, but the wood that I'm seeing here, I would imagine is not going to be attracting so much sunlight and then thusly reflecting it back into the faces and bodies of the people who are going to be visiting this shelter. Is there already any thinking about that in terms, and my other thing I would note in terms of concern is I understand the need for the parking, of course, as we're going to go find new homes for, our pet friends. But I really worry about, I didn't see, and again, I know you all are so early, but I just don't see any landscaping whatsoever that, again, these early renderings are bringing. So I don't see any mitigation. Okay, I thank you for that clarification. I pointed out because I know our news friends are very likely to put these images that we're seeing today out into, the community. And I just want to make sure they're clear and I'm clear of where we're heading, and that this is early and that we are going to be taking things into consideration in terms of what the experience is like accessing this area as I'm getting out of my vehicle to get into this building, particularly if I have a sick animal as well.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I understand all your concerns, and we will address those moving forward. We do intend to have a lot of landscaping, hopefully exceed what's required by code, at least at the front entrances, just to make it more appealing. And your comment about wood, we like the warmth of wood on this building, but yet we need to be concerned about maintenance in long term. And so we want to limit that to maybe soffits and areas where it's not exposed to the elements. But we can certainly look at lighter color finishes that would not be as hot as dark finishes on the exterior of the building, just to keep it lightened up and help with the heat effect.
Mm-hmm. That's comforting. Okay, those are my main concerns. Is just again, and I don't just mean land. I'm glad to hear you saying above and beyond, kind of just the required landscaping. So I don't just mean landscaping for aesthetic. I really do mean it in terms of the literal experience of this space, which I see as a healing space. I think it's very important to think of this site as a healing space. When the original one, as you all recall, from the MAPS presentations, when we constructed it, it was just flat out a holding cell. Mm-hmm. It was not adoption. It was not care. And so I have many residents in Ward 2, when I knock their doors, this was an ask. So I have a pet, so this is a huge, important thing to me. So I just really want to linger on this and just say that this is an opportunity to really right a historic misapproach.
Right.
So I just want to bring that to your attention. Thank you for hearing that. And thanks for getting us where we are. It seems like a tough site you had to deal with there.
It was a little challenging, but we've got it. We've got a solution.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Todd? Okay, well, thank you so much for that
Thank you.
presentation. No vote necessary. Moving forward to item D, recommend approval of resolution transferring 4.3 million, I'll just let David expand on that, from the MAPS 4 Sales Tax Fund for the Family Justice Center Operating Fund to the Oklahoma City MAPS Investment and Operating Trust.
Right, so this is $4,380,403. It comes from the additional revenue that was projected, the additional projections, and the Palomar had asked that their additional projections budget be put into the investment fund to help with their operations in the future. So this is that. It's already contemplated in the I-plan. It's already in the budget that was approved by council, and the timing matches with when it's supposed to go. So we're just doing the formality of it.
Any questions for David? Okay, do I have a motion to approve? In a second, please cast your votes. We didn't see the outcome of that. Oh, there it is. That motion has passed. Okay, moving forward, recommend approval of the preliminary report for the Maps 4 Diversion Hub.
Right, so today, we very happy to be bringing you the actual preliminary report for the diversion hub. So Rachel Bundy and Farouk Karim are here from Reese and Associates to go through that and show you the great work that they've done for the diversion hub.
Good morning. I'm Farouk. I think some of you remember me from last time. I'm Director of Design with Reese, and Rachel Bundy is our Senior Project Manager on the project. So we're going to go through, Rachel's going to kind of walk you through a quick project description. She'll talk a little bit about project design. We're going to do some building planning updates, site plan updates. Councilman Cooper, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us and kind of talk about the site plan. Rachel's going to cover some of the things that we've done to kind of address some of your thoughts and concerns. We have a lot of exterior imagery updates. We have a lot of new interior imagery, which we're very excited to show. We're going to go through a visual walkthrough. We couldn't bring the model, but we wanted to stress how we've been working with the diversion hub, and we've been bringing the model to every meeting, planning meetings, design meetings. So, you know, it's really helpful for them to make decisions when they can see the building three-dimensionally, and I think it will help you guys after seeing the still images, being able to see kind of panning and going up and down throughout the building. And then Rachel will jump back in and cover some cost estimates.
All right, thank you, Farouk. Thank you so much for having us here today. So just a quick reminder, the Diversion Hub, the vision, and really the intent of Diversion Hub. They work with partners and they work with bringing their clients to connect justice-involved individuals to work with diverting them from going back into the system. They are working also to design a building that is very welcoming and hospitable for their clients, just to ensure that they're comfortable coming and using their resources. The site location is indicated here, and we all saw this last time, but just a reminder, Linwood Boulevard, Northwest 6th Street, in between Klein and Ellison Avenue. We've brought a more developed landscape plan with us today, and as Farouk said, we worked to get additional comments from Councilperson Cooper, and we essentially have a similar layout that we brought last time. We do have the building centered on the site. We have the client parking lot on the east side. We have the staff parking lot on the west side. We have added more landscaping and trees to the site plan. In particular, we've added trees along Linwood Boulevard, where we know there will be some pedestrian traffic and some bicycle traffic coming to the site. We also have angled and really tried to streamline the main paths to the building entrance to help direct the clients to that entrance and give them the most direct route to the entrance. And you'll see a little bit later in the visualization portion really how that entrance looks with the landscaping, and there's some different seating positions and things like that.
We also added a few access points in. You see some of the angled sidewalks that Rachel talked about, just providing greater access from 6th and Linwood, but also one of the things that we've done is we've widened the sidewalk by 2 feet along Linwood as well, so it's more pedestrian friendly and
correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So and we've included that in the cost estimate as well to ensure we have a wider, more friendly pedestrian sidewalk along.
And some
Linwood
other things that
Boulevard.
we'll cover, like Rachel said in the visualization. We've shown more information about the landscaping, both at the public entrance where the clients would be coming in, as well as the staff entrance, which is kind of at the southeast or southwest corner of the site. Lots of area of landscaping, also areas for seating. One of the questions that came up on Tuesday at our subcommittee meeting, thank you, was, you know, when clients are coming to the building, they typically have things with them, bicycles, animals, their belongings. And so, you know, we are starting with the outside of the building, accommodating an area outside the main entrance for bike racks. And then as you see when we get into the building, areas to store their belongings and other things.
This is just some additional visualization that we're developing. As far as the program and planning for the building, we've included a program slide. It lists all of the functions that are occurring in the building, but I'm going to move on to the floor plan slide and really talk about where those spaces are located. So here's the ground floor of the building, and really this is where all of the client spaces and client resource spaces occur. The entire ground floor is really there to function for the clients. In the red color, we have a training space. It can be one large space. It can be divided into two spaces. This can be utilized by Diversion Hub staff. It can be utilized by their partners for some of the after-hours training, and to, you know, just provides another space to give training and resources for the clients to come in and access. The blue area is the main entry lobby. I probably should have started with that. But the lobby is very generous, and what the Diversion Hub is seeking in that lobby is, again, to make people feel comfortable. They don't want them to feel crowded. If they need a little bit of personal space, there's going to be a variety of seating in there. And you'll see also when we get to the visualization, there's just some interior tools we're using to kind of divide the space up a little bit, but also keep it very open and visible, so that you know, you're just able to see how busy it is and what activities are going on in the lobby. The lobby is the main access point both to the training room that we spoke about, and then the purple area in the center is the primary client space. There are 10 different client meeting rooms, and then there are also 3 different kind of medium-sized conference and training spaces. All of those are dedicated for use with the clients, by the partners, by the staff to work with the clients. And these are types of spaces the Diversion Hub does not have now, so they'll be able to really expand their capabilities of working with the clients. The green area off to the side is a mental health area that's also needs to be working very closely to that, to the client spaces, so that's right off of the client spaces. In the southeast corner is the alternative courts area. This is another partner, another resource that's available for the clients. And so it is situated, for certain reasons, it is separated from those client meeting rooms, but it's still accessed off of that main lobby. It does have a small separate entrance, just due to their hours are sometimes open a little longer than the Diversion Hub. So when the Diversion Hub is not open, there will be a small private entrance to access the alternative court space. Moving over to the west side of the building, the areas in yellow are all for donations and storage of donations, and there's a small washer, dryer, laundry facility. So again, it's just expanding and increasing some of the services that Diversion Hub is able to provide to their clients by giving them more storage for items they're able to collect, non-perishable food items, things like that. And the little pink space is really building services, mechanical, electrical, not the most exciting piece, but functional.
That yellow space is really important because a lot of times when the clients are coming to the building, they may not have a pair of shoes, they may not have warm clothing, they may be hungry, and so it's hard to have those conversations when you're dealing with those stresses. And so a lot of times, first thing that happens is they go into one of those client spaces and they get something to eat.
Mm-hmm. And that also reminds me, there's a small gray area in the middle, that's a kitchenette space, and that can be a pre-function space for the training space, but also that will house a couple of freezers for emergency meals that the Diversion Hub provides as an emergency service for their clients. So along the lines that Farouk is saying, if they come in and they are hungry and need a meal, the Diversion Hub is able to provide that for them.
One other quick thing, the gray area at the lower left-hand corner, we really want to improve the staff experience, the staff environment, and so much nicer staff entrance than they have now. It's a 2-story volume space. It's got space for them to sort of decompress and lounge in on both levels, but it also immediately takes them not only to their work areas, but right outside their break room area. So it's really a much nicer work environment than they have today.
And before we move up to the second floor, the last thing I'll point out, we'll see it on the second floor, but in the central, we call it the central spine, which is, you know, kind of the arrow that shoots through the building. In the middle of the client space, we have a connecting stair that is an opportunity to bring in some natural light from the clear story windows of that spine. And then also in between that stair and the meeting room are some client computer workstations. So that's another resource available to the clients. But you'll also see a floor opening above that at the second floor. So we know that these client spaces are fairly internal to the building. So we are working to bring natural light in from above. And then we'll also have some natural light opportunity coming off both the lobby and that south stair as
There's
well.
always a visual connection to the mission.
Yeah, yeah, and you'll see that a little more in the imagery. So second floor, as Farouk mentioned, the staff will all come up or will come in at the south end of the building there, and there's a stair and elevator available for the staff. There's also the central connecting stair, and that's the most direct connection for the staff to be able to go down to that client space and be, you know, right close to the client space and very close to the lobby. The areas in blue are all of the administrative and partner offices and workstations. Just one thing of note about the second floor, where you see those workstations, it's a fairly open floor there, and that is, again, to bring natural light into the building. We always look for opportunity for that, and then we want to also keep it flexible. The partners that they work with may change, you know, may grow and just expand. And so we've left that space flexible so that it can be reconfigured as they change their partners out or grow their partners.
As corny as it may sound, one of our clients coined this phrase, but we want to make sure that everybody in the building has the right to light, right? So the staff, the clients, everybody has access to natural light regardless of where they are in the building.
The spaces in purple are really support spaces, some additional conference rooms, some additional team spaces. In the southeast corner, we have a generous break room and a small patio area for the staff. And then the spaces in yellow are the circulation, and then we have some restrooms and some mother's room and some additional staff support spaces. The second floor is primarily for the staff.
Okay. Now, we know you've seen some of the exterior imagery. A couple of the things that you're going to see that are still in process, you know, we're about to start having some conversations about the public art piece. That may or may not impact how and where and what we do with signage, so that's still in process. So we're going to go through these fairly quickly. So we're looking towards the west. You can see Linwood on your right. You can see, you know, we've got a lot more of the landscaping integrated into the 3D imagery. So you have the main entrance. You have signage on the building there, but also we intend to have a monument sign kind of out in front of the building. There's also, just to the left of the diversion hub, signage on the building is a separate entrance for after hours for the diversion courts, alternative courts. Really the biggest change that we've made, primarily from a budget standpoint, is the spine got a little bit shorter. There's less glass on the building, but there is the same amount of vision glass that we've always had. So we've just reduced the glass that was over unoccupied spaces, just from a cost standpoint. We have two different colors of brick. We're proposing some limestone. There's some metal panel. There's some wood look soffits as we go around the building. And as we go through these, I'm going to click through them quickly. We'll just kind of point out. So you can see kind of up at the top is where the staff spaces are. Lots of windows into those areas, as well as the alternative courts. Lots of windows into kind of north and east facing into that lobby. Now we're looking to the north, and that large lawn area to the south is really intended to be for future growth. And one of the things that we've already started talking to the diversion hub about is that, you know, they're already planning for an expansion. I mean, they're growing, and their services are that needed. So we have about 16,000 square feet possible for expansion to the south, and we see that, Diversion Hub sees that as just, you know, an extension of the services that they're providing today. So it's really important to do that. You can kind of see up at the top the outdoor patio area that Rachel talked about, and again, That glassy area is that enclosed two-story space for the employee stair. And you can kind of see a little hint of, again, that employee entrance. Now it's kind of in your lower right. There is sort of a spill-out area on the lower left of the image along Linwood for the training space in case you have an event or they have an event and they need some kind of outdoor breakout or want to use that space for the event. Now we're swinging around. We're on the north side along Linwood. And we're looking at that training space, and it's got lots of natural light potential into that space. And again, all of those windows on the second floor are looking into the staff spaces. Now we're kind of more at grade level. We're looking back towards that main entrance. Councilman Cooper, I know parking is a huge issue to you. I know you mentioned heat island effect earlier today. Correct me if I'm wrong, our proposal is for all the parking to be concrete,
Yes.
not asphalt, which is better for heat island effect because it's lighter and more reflective. You are never walking across more than 60 feet when you're in the parking areas, and I think we mentioned last time that the reason we split it was to sort of mitigate the large area of parking. Again, we're just sort of swinging around. We want to make sure that this building, and this is really, I think it's applicable outside, but really applicable inside when we show you the interior images. Whether you're a client, whether you're a visitor, whether you're staff, we want you to be inspired. We want you to be hopeful. We want you to feel welcome. And so making sure that the scale of things is appropriate, making sure that the materiality and the colors are appropriate. Again, just kind of looking from Linwood. And I think one of the things that's fun about this building is, and we've talked about this in all the meetings, it has no backside, so we're really trying to be very intentional about every little detail and every placement of windows, the materials, the orientation to the street, opportunities for outdoor spaces and landscaping. This is really the most back side of the building, but it's a very visible side of the building, and so just want to make sure that we're mindful of all of that. And one thing, we've spent a lot of time at Diversion Hub. We've spent a lot of time around their clients. And so, it's been really important for us to just understand what they're going through and understand the experience and make that better and really enhance the services that they're able to get as they come to Diversion Hub. So now we're going to talk about the inside. So one of the things that we always try to do, if possible, is never have a north-facing entry door. So you enter from the east and then immediately turn left into the building and go south. And so you see those doors to the vestibule where you're coming in from the east on your left. You're looking towards the reception desk in the middle. Up at the top is a glass element that has an image on it so you can see through it from the second floor. But we didn't want the clients to feel like they had people looking down on them. Lots of wood and wood look. One of the things that Rachel talked about is just being mindful of the fact that sometimes when different groups are there or different clients are there may be people who don't like each other. And so how do we separate the space but also keep it relatively open so that the space can be supervised and work well? It also it's not just one big rectangular space, so there's lots of places that someone can kind of go and find their own space. Clients would enter through that door to the left. There's also an access to the alternative courts, and then restrooms and the training spaces are off kind of behind that blue wall that we talked about on the right. And we're just going to kind of click through these because it's just some different views of the lobby space. And so, just thinking again about, just the customer experience and the client experience and something a little bit different than they have today. Today, it's cramped, it's small, it's all white, it's, kind of institutional. Reception is behind glass, and so we really want to create a much, much better experience and set the tone and de-escalate from the minute you walk in the building. One of the other things that we pointed out in the meeting on Tuesday is that you're going to see a lot of details like the metal screens, the built-in benches, a lot of the colors. So you're going to see the same things in the client spaces that you see in the lobby. You're going to see the same things from the client spaces to the second floor and the staff spaces. We also talked about, some of those kind of amenities for clients. So, You know, you have outdoor storage for bicycles, you have indoor locker storage for smaller items, you have large storage kind of at the back of the building. There's a little phone nook over here to the left in case you need to make a phone call. So lots of amenities for the clients. The training space, subdividable into two, a larger volume than they have today in their training room, and it's a column-free space, which they don't have today. But, you know, just want to make sure that we're providing spaces that work well, work better, and do the things that they need to do. Also thinking about just, you know, hospitality in all these spaces, so providing some space for storage and food and drink kind of at the back of the room as clients or community is coming in for meetings. This is that communicating stair that Rachel talked about. So it is secured from the staff spaces, but one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that there's easy access for the staff to the client spaces. Look for ways to bring natural light, most of which comes in from the opening to our left, which you'll see in a minute. But also, you know, sort of mitigate and not make it real in your face that it's secure and separate, and really kind of create a feature in that space. Rachel also talked about, you know, along the sides of the client spaces where they're meeting with their case managers. In the middle, that sort of green element that goes up through the second floor is a stack of meeting and training spaces that happen on both levels, and then those workstation areas. And then again, you got, you know, views to outside and daylight kind of at the south end beyond the green space. And then just a couple examples of what the client spaces might look like. You know, sort of similar philosophy to what they have today. So they've learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work. And so one of the things that we've talked about is setting those up in a couple of different ways, just so that, you know, they have some variety, different postures of seating, colorful, warm, inviting. So this is the top of the landing when you come up that staff stair, so you can see kind of a perch or a touchdown spot as you get to the top of the stair. Those meeting spaces in the green element, which is, again, goes down to the first floor, and then that open break area to your right. There are no dead ends, so you always have a way to sort of loop and move around and go different ways throughout the floor, which we think is really important. You can see lots of natural light. You have a view out onto the employee patio area. This is really set up to not just be a break room. It's a place you can meet. It's a place you can work. They can have gatherings. It's really important that if we're going to dedicate any dollars to a space like this, that it does more than one thing. And now we're getting into those staff work areas. Again, bright, light, team-oriented. We want to make sure that when you're seated at your workstation, you have, you know, some sense of privacy and place and space. But then when you stand up, you can see the team, you can collaborate. Lots and lots of access to natural light. Lots of wood look elements through the doors, the ceilings, inserts in the columns. One of the other things we've talked a lot about is transparency and translucency where appropriate. So again, we want to make sure that we're bringing natural light into or through those spaces if they are enclosed spaces on an exterior. And then we'll just sort of click through some of these images as we go through. And right now, the furniture is just kind of placeholders. We haven't really started working through that in detail, but that is something that we're kind of working through. And now we're going to just quickly do an animation.
right, and now we move from design to the even more exciting budget topic. So for the preliminary report, we were required to include an estimate along with the design and the drawings. And on the top portion of this is really a summary of the project budget. The original fixed limit of construction from MAPS was allotted to be $13,023,400. The Arnall Foundation has made a commitment in a number of ways to the diversion hub. They have donated the land, the property for the project, and they've also made an additional commitment of $1 million to fund some additional site infrastructure and site development. And so we've totaled that together as the $15,023,400. MAPS was able to move the land acquisition budget over into the construction budget for that reason. And then down at the bottom portion is the construction estimate. So you'll see the total funding. Our current preliminary report estimate is coming in at $14,930,479. So we are just under budget at this point. You know, we understand that we're still in process, and that's something we'll continue to really track and keep our eyes on as we move along.
And just to note, one of the other ways that the Arnall Foundation is supporting, they are funding furniture. The equipment and the FF&E is part of the project budget above, but we just want to make sure you guys understood that and made that distinction. So.
And then as far as schedule goes, we are in the August 2023 portion, working towards staff review, council approval, and upon receiving approval, we would be excited to move into the construction document and technical drawing specification phase of the project. We have 120 days for that. It then goes back out for staff review, another 45 days. So looking at January to be around the time frame to bid it out, with construction beginning approximately in April 2024. We thank you all for your time, and we'd love to hear questions, comments.
Anybody have any questions for Farouk or Rachel?
I just have some comments. Thank you very much for incorporating some of our feedback from the last meeting, especially the landscaping and just the overall welcoming nature of this. I think hearing you speak about it being a place that is, we want to make it more gentle, more human friendly, talking about the natural light. I really appreciate your point of view on those things, and I can see it in the renderings. So thank you very much for adding those thoughts and intention, and also our feedback, and really making this a beautiful building that I hope will heal a lot of people.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
I would just like to add that I'm on the subcommittee for, and we saw this presentation on Tuesday, and it doesn't seem to ever get old for me. I just love seeing the updates. I was really pleased by the thoughtful changes that you made, and I want to thank Councilman Cooper for his part in that, and for the CAB for their comments last time. I tend to be more analytical, but yet looking at this space, I just feel soothed by it. So I know that it will definitely have that effect on other people. And I'm also very excited, and here's my analytical side, at the fact that you're able to manage that budget by making changes that I wouldn't have even been able to tell. So I want to thank you for your working so hard on this.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
I'll add simply, just to amplify what we just heard from my two colleagues here. Thank you, especially on that natural lighting side of things and the intentional work toward really prioritizing who's going to be experiencing the space and where, right? As opposed to just the windows to have them, right? You really hit me with the you know, well, there's gonna be storage over here, so why would we put, you know, necessarily the windows when we could prioritize that in these different spaces? So I just think that's really smart. And then, yeah, just thanks for hearing my concerns. I'd also say, you know, when, I know Megan's gone now, but Councilwoman Hammond, I would want to give her due here because she met with us as well when we sat down. And, you know, this is her ward where this will find itself. And so it was really nice to kind of collaborate with you all and another council person there. I think my only other ask for consideration is that, and again, this is just amplifying what we heard from Chelsea and Shay, that you've already done such wonderful work. Earlier, I was just kind of looking at those sidewalks and just trying to imagine people navigating them, particularly if they have a wheelchair. And my only other ask for consideration is that at those entrance points, can we go to one of the slides where maybe one might see that, so it's not just abstract what I'm recommending here?
Maybe you kind of widen so that you're not having to make a 90-degree turn. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, if you're thinking that, you know, I'll let your engineering smarts think through that. I wasn't even being that smart. Maybe one of the renderings would help really drive this home.
You want to see the entrance?
Maybe. There we go.
There.
There we go. Okay. I think those moments where the sidewalk, like if you look in that far northwest corner for me, like off of 6, for instance,
Right.
I think those moments where those where a vehicle is entering the parking lot has the potential for, you know, it's a point of conflict, right, for the pedestrian and the person in the vehicle. So perhaps something as simple as a crosswalk, just paint. Maybe you're already thinking like this down the road. It goes a long way, I think, psychologically to the person who might be exiting the car or, you know, just arriving at this space again, maybe via wheelchair, of asking themselves, okay, I've gotten to this space, I'm on the sidewalk, now how do I navigate the pedestrian infrastructure to access this space? And those crosswalks kind of add that extra bit. So like, for instance, if I'm parked over on the far, at least in the slide, the north part, if I park there, rather than going across the parking lot to access the building as someone in a wheelchair, if I have a better sense of, okay, I'm gonna use this sidewalk infrastructure by going over here along 6th Street. Do you follow what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
So it's kind of helping visually connect those dots for folk. And it's just something that's become more and more on my mind as, you know, people with disabilities have been reaching out to me and asking for that accessibility focus. But otherwise, I think what you all have done here is kind of going back to a word I heard last time, very healing, and I think that's good. And it's kind of what I was saying about the animal shelter as well, is I really see both spaces as opportunities for that sort of work. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, do I have a motion and a second? Perfect. Cast your votes, please. And that motion has passed. Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
Next on the agenda, recommend approval of change order number 3, the maps for downtown arena phase 2A scoreboard replacement.
So this is $38,000 change order for part of the scoreboard, but it's not the scoreboard itself. So the scoreboard project includes boards that are around the arena, some of them repurposed, some of them new. And how this transpired is because of the retractable seats, when they were reconfigured because of the visual lines, if you will, there was some other space that was identified, and this is to add some additional video boards in there. We did an extensive discussion at the subcommittee level on this whole situation with realignment and everything, and the subcommittee approved it.
Okay, do I have a motion and a second? Okay, please cast your votes. perfect. That motion has passed. Okay, moving on to item G, recommend approval of ratifying and approving addendum number 1 for the MAPS Downtown Arena Phase 2F.
So this is the projects that you've seen before. We rebid these. We received 2 bids. We received a bid for $5 million, roughly 5.2, and we received a bid for almost $12 million. Subsequently, the low bidder told us that they would not execute a contract because they had made a mistake, and they were not going to honor their number. Typically, we would go on to the second bidder, but the second bidder is more than twice from the low bidder. We're just not comfortable with what we're seeing here. So what we've decided to do, instead of having, I think there's 14 different small projects that are within the arena, and a lot of them are remodels of little areas and just things here and there. We're going to break that into 2, 3, maybe 4 packages so that we can get a better handle on the costs of these, and maybe consolidate a contractor to just one part of the arena, not have him all over the arena, and then we can bite this off a little piece at a time and see where we are. A lot of it is working around events and trying to get certain areas done before a season starts, but fortunately Paycom is adding a lot of events that have even kind of bit into the seat replacement, which is going well. But anyway, we're recommending rejecting the bids on this, and we will go out to bid. Hopefully we'll have them back to you next month in smaller packages, because the work is done. All we've got to do is repackage the bid documents. And this also comes with the approval of the subcommittee.
Okay, any questions? If not, do I have a motion and a second? Okay, please cast your votes. Okay, that motion has passed. So now we are on to discussion items. Are there any items for discussion?
We don't have any.
No items for discussion, so we're moving on to MAPS 4 Citizens Advisory Board Subcommittee reports. Anybody here who would like to report on their subcommittee? Okay, seeing none, we now have item V, update or status of the MAPS 4 program.
Just real quick, as I said, the arena seats are still ongoing. They're real close to being finished. All the upper bowl and the mid bowl seats are completed, and the retractables are probably about 60% complete. So everything's going well over there. The parks projects are still working, putting together the plan on replacing things and putting new things in the park. We've finished all the engagements, so that's going well. I hope to be bringing you the preliminary report for Palomar next month. I think you'll be as pleased with it as you were with the diversion hub today. And then Coliseum continues to go well. They've poured some slabs, some ground floor slabs. A lot of columns are up, and they've actually started scaffolding to pour the second floor. So they're doing great out there. That's all I have.
Thank you, David. Any questions regarding that? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to informational items. We've got a receipt of informal bids and contract award regarding the MAPS 4 Downtown Arena Phase 2D broadcast cabling upgrades.
So there is, the city engineer is allowed to do what we call informal bids with items less than $100,000. And because of the pressure we were under, the NBA required our arena to have 2 things completed before this next season. One of them was raising the doors to that pathway to the locker rooms to 9 feet. And we got that approved last month. You saw that. We went ahead and sent out bids for this since it's a relatively small item. And this is for new cabling, data and power and informational stuff that goes to the scorers table area. And this has to be done before the next season. Timing was such that we needed to kick this on out, so I'm bringing it back to show you that we did the informal bid and were successful with Ford Audio, and that is already underway.
Thank you, David. Any questions? No? Then we are on to item 7, comments by board, staff, and citizens. Did we have any citizens signed up to speak? None? How about board members? Any comments? Staff? All right. If there is no further business, then we will adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for coming today.